Hey y'all, it's Christy with Teadoddles, and today I'm going to do a tutorial for the first block in my cozy murder mystery cowl or crochet along. I've had some questions about it. The pattern is free on my blog, and there will be a link down below. This is a year-long cowl where we read a cozy murder mystery book each month and make a block, or 2 or 3 if you want to make more of them. All of the blocks are based on granny square style. So this is the first block. You haven't seen it. When I say they're based on granny square style, you're gonna work it like you would a granny square, except there are gonna be different stitches in there sometimes. Okay, make it more interesting. So there will be a different block each month. I did get this block, and then my second block, so I'm doing 2 each. I wound up having to put a different color on the edge because even though I weighed my yarn as I was going to get to the halfway point, I got 3 sides, and then I didn't have any for the 4th side. So yeah, that's annoying. But so what I decided is, if I don't like the way the bordered ones look for a larger blanket, I will just make 2 smaller blankets or whatever. Plus I'm going to be making this one today, so we'll see. I might have a 3rd blanket in tow. I've got a lot of, so this is just some, it feels like acrylic. I don't really know. It's one of my neighbors gave me a whole bin of yarn. Most of it didn't have labels, or some of it was older yarn. So I decided to use this for a square. Plus, someone commented about my green because they dislike green so much, but they love orange. So I'm sure y'all, some of y'all may know who that is. So, my dog's gonna bark. Hopefully she settles down. Alright, so in my pattern I started with a magic circle. Now, traditional granny squares will start with a chain 4. So I'm going to show you how to do that in case you want to do it that way, and then I'll show you how to do the magic circle way, okay? So this is just me making my slip knot. Everybody does it different. This yarn's a little bit thicker than the other yarn, but I should be good. Alright, so I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then some people, I have seen some patterns where some people join this and some people don't join this. They just start into it and then join it later. I'm going to go ahead and join it with a slip stitch to this first stitch here. So you're just making a starting ring, just like this, okay? Well, let me get it closer to the camera. Yeah. And now we're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and you just put your stitches, I don't try to put them into the chains, I go into the center, this little hole made by the chains. So I'll do double crochet, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. This yarn is a little velcro-y. Yeah, chain 2, 3 more double crochets. This yarn feels a little thicker than the paint box yarn I used for the original square. 1. You'll hear lumpy paws. That is my dog, my big dog. He's snorting around in here too. You may hear that. 1, 2. Alright, so once you get all of those, that would be the first row in the pattern. where you do chain 3, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to connect back to this top, the top of the beginning chain 3. So, with a slip stitch, okay? So that's what you would do if you just want to do the chain 4 beginning, and that may be easier for some people. Now I'm going to pull this back, and I'm going to show you how I do it with a magic circle. I just like the magic circle because you don't have as big, you can have a smaller hole in the center if you want. Some people like that hole as a standard for the granny square, but I prefer a less open granny square. Let's put it that way. Alright, so this is how I do it. I'm taking this, I got my 3 fingers here. I'm going to go wrap it around. My dog might start snoring, y'all. And I'm going to wrap it around. Okay? And this is the end of my yarn. I'm keeping that in front of this other bit that's wrapped around my hand, okay? Like that. And I'm going to hold that with my pinky. Alright, then I'm going to go up under this first one. Grab the second one. Kind of twist, and you're basically pulling up a loop. Now, the most important part of this is trying to hold tension on the rest of this while you start this other part. So that's why I use my pinky and everything. So then I'm going to pull up 1, 2, 3. That's my beginning chain, okay? I never count that first loop as a chain because it gets so squished when you pull the thing tight. So now I'm going to go ahead and put, I like to go ahead and put at least 1 regular stitch in, like the double crochet. Then I will let go of everything, and I will hold my yarn the way I usually do, and I will put these 2 fingers through this loop I've got and hold this with my pinky, okay? That just helps keep everything together and kind of keeps it from moving around while you're trying to crochet into it, okay? So this can be easier if you don't like crocheting into that tiny circle in the beginning, alright? So I'm going to do the same thing I did in the other one, where we got the 2 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, until we make our little square to start off with. Alright, my dog is definitely snoring over there, y'all. This yarn is not very pleasant to work with, I'm just gonna say. Maybe it'll soften up once I wash it. I hope it does. So, what I like to do is once I get 3 of the 4 sides in, alright, you're going to pull on this, okay? But you want to hold it kind of right here, okay? It just helps. And when you pull on it, makes that loop smaller. You can start to see the granny square. Now I don't have to hold that loop. I can just finish up with the last section. Chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and then we're going to slip stitch into that beginning chain 3. Okay, there we go. Now I'll pull this a little snugger. See, you'll still have that circle because you got so many stitches in there. I think it looks neater, and I just like making anytime I crochet in the round, I like starting with a magic circle. It just depends on what you're doing, especially a hat or something. You can pull those stitches pretty snug and not have a hole at the top. So if you start from the top down hat. Okay, so now here we go on with basics of a granny square. All right, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now there's some people, especially if you're doing different colors, they'll join in here and then they'll do this whole corner and then go around. But if you're using the same yarn, that you really can't do that. And then I have seen some patterns where they slip stitch all the way to the next corner before they do anything. So, and I really don't like that either, but I'll do the chain 3. And then I'm just gonna, this little loop that's made on this corner with those chain 2 stitches, I'm gonna do my double crochet in there, okay? Because that first chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. So 2 double crochets in here, okay? All right. So some patterns will put a chain 1 stitch between the little sets, okay? The little clusters, should we call them, okay? I don't do that. If you think it'll make it easier, depending on your tension, you can do that. But some of them will chain 1 and then do the next set. I'm not chaining 1. I'm going to go directly into this next corner and put 3 more double crochet in here. 2, 3. We're going to chain 2 for our corners, okay? You're always doing a chain 2 at the corners, and then 3 more double crochet into that same corner. Oh, this yarn is so sticky, y'all. I really wish I hadn't picked this yarn, but I'm going to deal with it. All right, so it's like Velcro. You can hear it sticking to it. So there's no telling how long it's been in that ball. But all right, so what you'll notice is we're not going into these stitches at all. You don't go into those stitches, okay? You go in the corners, and when we get to the next row, I'll show you you go between the stitches, okay? Which is why some people put that chain 1 between these, okay? Because all of our stitches go between those 3 double crochet clusters, okay? Right now we're just going into the corners because it's only the second round. So we're going to do, oh, Lord have mercy, this yarn is driving me, it's going to drive me nuts before I'm done with it. It's so sticky. Not sticky as in it's got something sticky on it, but it's sticking to my fingers. I don't like it. It's gripping. Oh, that's my dog. She decided she's going to come and lay in here today, even though she lays on the couch most any other day, just because I'm recording a video, y'all. Alright. So, we did that corner. Same thing again. 3 double crochet into the last corner. 3 double crochet and chain 2. There's a fuzz on here. I gotta get it off. And then 3 double crochet into the corner. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Very stiff yarn. Whew. All right. Now we've got this last corner. We just need the 3 double crochet and the chain 2 to finish up this round. Okay? 3 double crochets. And the chain 2. All right? Then we slip stitch right into, make sure you're slip stitching into the right stitch, okay? It can get confusing. This is this double crochet. This is the second double crochet. And this is the beginning chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So it's actually right here. It's not here. It's here. And sometimes that helps to go back from the beginning and do that. First double crochet, second double crochet. So that stitch is actually the top of the chain 3. All right? So now we have round 2. Okay? And all of my squares in this crochet along will start with basic granny squares the first 2 rounds, okay? Hold on just a second. Okay, back at it. Now, we're going to move into round 3. And round 3 is where we start doing some slightly different stitches, okay? Yeah, I had to check my piece to make sure I'm remembering my own pattern. Okay, so for a granny square, if you were doing a typical granny square, you would start off in the corner just like we did before, and you'll start off in the corners of this pattern the same way, okay, with the chain 3 and then the 2 double crochet right in that same corner that you're starting in, okay? That is how you will always start off around. Let me pull off some yarn off of this because this is... Oh, don't fall on the floor, please. All right. All right. Sorry, got a tickle in my throat. So we're gonna, in a typical granny square, you would put that same same 3 double crochet cluster in between these other clusters, and you would do, hold on a second again. Okay, maybe the tickle in my throat will clear up and I can move on. Very annoying for me. So a typical granny square, you would just keep doing that. You would start off like this. You would have 3 double crochet between here, which is why some people put a chain 1 here. And then you'd have the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in the corners. And that's how you go around. And you just continue making it as big as you would like. You know, changing colors if you'd like. So that is typical granny square. That's why I said this is done in the round like a granny square. I'm just putting different stitches than you typically see in a granny square, okay? So we're going to put a puff stitch here instead of the 3 double crochet. Now for this, I am going to chain 1. And the reason I'm doing that is because the puff stitch tends to tighten in on itself, and it just helps it spread out a little better, okay? So for the puff stitch, we're going to yarn over, go into that space between the clusters, pull up, and you want to make sure you pull up even with this other stitch, okay? You're not going to have it as tight as this stitch when you do a puff stitch, okay? That's what messes some people up. You got to pull that yarn up even with the rest of your work, okay? So then we're going to yarn over 4 more times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Each time pulling your stitches up even with your work, okay? And we're going to yarn over and pull through all of that. You can see how I kind of turned my hook down when I did that. That helps to do that. And then we're going to close off the top of that stitch, which is just a chain 1. And then we're going to chain 1 more time. Like I said, that's just to help make it set right in the stitches, okay? And now we're going to go double crochet into the corners. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, which is what you do in the corners for every single row, okay? Me and this yarn, not getting along. It's such a sticky yarn. This is a very old acrylic. I can tell just by the way it feels. I can remember when I first started crocheting, that was the kind of yarn I used, which is probably why I didn't crochet for a long time after I first learned, which I first learned it too, so, you know. Anyway, acrylic yarn has come a long ways. Let's just say that. So now we're back to another puff stitch. So we chain 1, yarn over, go through, pull up your stitch, and then do that 4 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then we yarn over, pull through all the stitches on your hook, do a chain 1 to close it off, chain 1 again, and then we're going to go back into the corner and do our 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. All right, I'm going to finish out this row and then I'll come back so I don't have to fast forward anything. All right. Okay, I'm all the way back to my corner. I did my puff stitch in between the stitches on each side. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in the corners. I'm back to the beginning corner, and all I have to do now is chain 2 and slip stitch to my first, to the top of my chain 3, my beginning chain 3. Okay, so now we're on to round 4. The first thing we're going to do is do our chain 3, double crochet, 2 double crochets in that beginning corner. There we go. This yarn, it sticks to itself. That's what makes it so aggravating. All right, so now this is where we're going to do something slightly different. Always between the clusters, or however you want to. Oh, look over there in my corner. I missed a stitch in my corner. It's okay. Nobody don't know. Y'all know. Don't tell anybody. All right, so we're going to start off as if we're doing a regular granny square stitch, always in the stitch between, which will be easier to find when you have a a puff stitch, because we did the chain 1 in between it, and it helps things lay out better. So we're going to do a double crochet right into that space between, okay? And now we're going to do a treble. So this, instead of 3 double crochets, we're doing a double crochet, a treble, and then a double crochet. But the treble is not going in this stitch, it's going into the center stitch of the cluster below, okay? That center double crochet in the row below. All right, so a treble, we do yarn over twice before we begin the stitch. Then we're going to go into this stitch, right? You want to go under the stitch but come back through this hole, because you don't want this stitch up here to get caught in it, okay? We'll do that one more time. So we're going into this stitch below. There's our space. And we're going to make sure our hook comes up in that space, okay? It's like a dropped treble. We'll yarn over, pull through, and then we'll yarn over, pull through 2 loops till we get to the top, okay? So now that is in the stitch a row below, but over the stitch in the row we're in, okay? Now we're going to double crochet in that stitch we put the first double crochet in, okay? So that's all you're doing in this area. And my description may be a bit wordy, but I was trying to figure out how to describe it so people would understand it who had never done something like that before, if that makes any sense. I probably could have said drop treble for some people who've been crocheting for a while, but some people may not understand what that means. So we're just dropping that treble down into the stitch on the row below the row we're on, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go double crochet in this next space, treble crochet into the middle stitch of the row below, making sure to leave that, the row we're on, out of the stitch. You don't want to cover it up because it'll pull your work down. It's not, okay? And then we double crochet back into the space there on of the row we're on, okay? There we go. All right, gives us a nice little texture surrounding our bobble. So then we go into the corner and we do our 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Always in the corner. That's what we do. Except when you forget a double crochet like I did in my row below. It's okay. It'll work out all right. You do that too often, you may find your work getting wonky. But if you miss a stitch, nobody's ever going to notice but you. You miss it once or a couple of times, you know, sometimes it happens. It'll be fine. Now we're back to this other side and we're going to do the same thing again. Double crochet into our chain 1 space, treble into the double crochet 2 rows below, making sure to keep our yarn entangled for one, our stitch above out of that stitch. Double crochet into the chain 1 space of the row you are on again. Okay. All right. So we do double crochet, dropped treble crochet, double crochet. All right. And that's what we do on row 4, all the way around. Okay. So I'm going to finish up row 4 and then I'll come back and we'll do row 5. Okay, I've completed round 4 for this, and now we're going to move on to round 5. Just got to do my chain 2 and my slip stitch to the top of the beginning chain 3. Then I'm going to chain 3 and do 2 double crochets into the corner. Yeah, this yarn, I need to use it because it's all in a bin. There's a bunch of it, okay? But I can't put it on my, this is a big pile of yarn that's not on my yarn list that I've talked about before because most of it doesn't have labels and I have no way of knowing what yardage it is. I could weigh it, but I wouldn't know the yardage. So I need to use it for something. And this particular stiff stuff, this will probably be a pet blanket when I'm done with this one because this is very stiff. But anyway, so now we're going on to row 5. In row 5, we do a puff stitch, a drop treble segment, and a puff stitch. Okay, so we're combining what we did in row 3 and with row 4, and we're alternating the stitches. Okay, so that's all we're doing. So we will chain 1, yarn over, insert into the space, pull up our stitch for our bobble, and then yarn over 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, pull through all our stitches on the hook, do us a chain 1 to close, chain 1 again. All right, so now we're moving on to the space between the clusters. They're always, clusters are puff stitches, okay? We'll be working between the clusters of the double crochet, treble, double crochet now, okay? Like I said, you can put a chain 1 between those if you like. Depending on your tension, it may make it better, but something you should know, it's going to make it a little more open, and it could make it a slightly larger, depending on your tension, okay? So now we're going to double crochet into this space, and we're going to treble into the top of the puff stitch below, okay? And we got to make sure we're coming up between the space there, not catching the stitch on the row we're on. All right, then double crochet back into that space. All right. Pull me out some yarn. Sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. It's all right, so now we're going to chain 1. We're going to do, oh goodness gracious, we're going to do a puff stitch, pulled up 1 time. Now we're going to do 1, 2, 3, Chain 1 to close. It really doesn't help to pull out yarn because it tangles up in itself. Chain 1, and now we're to the double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in the corner, okay? But I wanted to show you this row, all right? So the only thing we're doing on this row is we're alternating the puff with the drop treble cluster, okay? So, and really on this, so those are the stitches I've gone over before for how to do them. And really all you're doing after this row you do puff, treble, puff, you alternate, you know, and you do your regular corners, clusters. And then the next row, you're going to do all drop treble clusters. And then the next row, you'll do the puff, drop treble, puff. So really you're repeating, this is row 5, and then 6 is the drop treble, which is the same as row 4, but you're repeating 5 and 6 as you go out further, okay? For a total of, let me count my, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 rows, okay? 9 rounds. And you can, that's why I said you can keep repeating those 2 rows, those 2 rounds, round 5 and 6, until you get it as big as you really want it to be. You can make a whole blanket that way if you wanted to. But you can also just go out to get 10 inches, which is what mine was. But depending on the yarn you use, it could vary, right? It doesn't really matter. Your blanket will just be bigger or smaller, depending on the yarn you use, depending on how many rounds you would like to go, okay? So we'll do one more side with this alternating. Let's just to make sure. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There's something stuck on my finger. All right, now we're going to do a puff. So we chain 1, yarn over, and then we do it 4 more times. 1, oh my goodness. Whew. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Okay, pull through all the stitches, chain 1 to close it off, chain 1 again, then we do our double, treble into the puff stitch below, and then our double. And from here on out, when you get to a treble, well, no, that's not true. All right, let's do the next puff stitch. 1, 3, 4, 5. So it's really a total of 5 if you want to count from the beginning. That first yarn over plus the 4 more yarn overs is a total of 5. So then we chain 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's 2 sides done. All right, so on this row we're doing puff, treble, puff, and then our corners are always the same. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Okay, and then the next row will just be the trebles. So when you do the trebles, you're going to be doing treble in this stitch. You're going to be dropping down to the top, the center stitch of the cluster below, all along, okay? So I feel like since I've covered all the stitches and everything, well, we'll do the next round since it repeats, but I'm going to finish this out and I'll come back and then we'll do round 6, okay? Okay, this is round 5 complete. I've already joined my corner over here. That's what that looks like. Let's see, that's so stiff. All right, let's do round 6 simply because I think I had a specific question in my Facebook group about round 6. So really round 4 is all drop stitches except at the corners. And then round 5 is puff, drop stitch, puff. So after round, it's just the way the terminology, because okay, let's just scratch all that. I'm getting too technical. You'll have to excuse me. I am a drafter by heart and a drafting teacher, so we have to be very detailed in our explanations, and sometimes I get a little wordy. I'm just gonna be honest. So I'm doing my chain 3 and double crochet in 2 double crochet in the starting corner. All right, so now we're going to go doing our double crochet and then our drop treble into the center stitch below of the cluster below. I should have called them cluster in the written pattern. And double crochet back into the space of the row we're on, okay? So now we're just doing that all across. We're just doing double crochet into that space, then the drop treble into the treble below, and double crochet back into the space. All right, we just continue along until we get to the corner doing that. We do double crochet, treble into the cluster below, double crochet into the space. One more time, double crochet, treble into the space below, yarn stop tangling, double crochet into that space. Right, and then we'll be at our corner, which is just the 3 double crochet and chain 2, 3 double crochet, which is what all the corners are, okay? All right, so the reason the terminology is different for this row than the 4 is because when you write it out, you're doing the drop stitch. I guess I could have just said center stitch of the cluster below, okay? And I could have determined clusters to be the 3 double crochets. That might have made it a little easier to write out. But what I said is that the treble crochet goes into the center double crochet of the 3 double crochet set below. So yeah, I guess I could have made that a little less wordy. It might have been easier to understand. So on this row, you do that on the first set, but the second set, the center part's technically going into the treble below, okay? And then the one in between the puff stitches on this row goes into the puff stitch below. So, anywho, hopefully that didn't make things more confusing for anybody. But basically, round 5 is puff, treble, puff. Round 6 is all trebles, okay? And then round 7 is puff, treble, puff. And that's, you just do that. You're increasing the amount that you have because you're getting bigger as you go around, okay? So that's all you're doing, repeating those 2 rows. Repeating those 2 rows. For a total of 9 rounds. I keep saying rows and rounds, but when I say rows, I mean rounds because we're going into round, okay? So, that's why I said this is a really adjustable pattern. Those two rounds get repeated as you go out further, and so that's once you get those two down, you're good to go, and you just kind of practice the puff and the drop in the row 3 and 4. Okay. So I think that I will stop here for this tutorial because I feel that I've explained each row thoroughly. If you have questions, please let me know, as everybody does not understand things the same way. And I know this very much as a teacher. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. I really love doing this round. I love doing it in the granny square style and just adding fun stitches in it, because a granny square is pretty basic, even though I will admit most people learn a granny square when they first start crocheting. It's kind of a basic thing. I did not learn granny square until sometime last year because I had never made a granny square. Is that not funny? I've been crocheting for 40 years and that was the first time I had made a granny square. So but I always like taking traditional patterns and making it more interesting with different stitches. I've done that with corner to corner crochet. The pattern in my shop, the bumps and scales the bumps and scales wrap. Y'all, I can't talk. Scarf or wrap. I think I called it a wrap. Or shawl. Bumps and scales shawl. I can't get the word to come out. I did some different stitches within corner to corner stitching, which was interesting. That pattern is for sale in my shop, and like the smaller size, the pattern is written out on my blog posts. I will put that down below. I also have a blog post with a bumps and scales cowl that I did in the corner to corner method, as well as I have a puff stitch face cloth pattern on my website as well. So I'll put all those links down below if you want to check those out. If you have any questions, like I said, please let me know. I hope you will join in the cowl. The cowl, C-A-L. We're having fun. I am enjoying the book. I have read, what chapter to get to? I don't remember, but I am enjoying the book. So you can check that out, all that out in the links I give you down below. I did have someone ask me if you could purchase the book physically. That particular book does not have a physical copy. And I believe they said they didn't have the internet, which I don't know how you comment on YouTube without the internet. But if you're just using your phone, you can download a Kindle app on your phone, and you can do it that way for the ebooks. I don't know that any on my list are physical books. I think most of them are ebooks only. So unfortunately, if you have to have the physical book, it's not available for most of these books I've picked because they are cozy murder mysteries and they tend to be just ebooks. And you'll notice that this one I picked is in a series. So I thought that most of them will be in a series. It'll be the first book in the series, and then if you like it, you can always get the rest of the series. So, which I usually will do if I really like the first book. So, I think that was it. I hope that everybody enjoys this cowl. I can't talk today, y'all. I don't think I'm going to have enough yarn to finish out this, but that's okay. This can be really scrappy, and this will definitely be a dog blanket. I do not like crocheting with this particular yarn I picked out of my van. It's very shiny. Got lots of plastic in it. Very acrylic-y. So, all right. Like I said, you got questions, let me know below. And y'all remember to have a life lived creatively, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.